been vocal in their criticism, demanding that xAI, the company behind Grok, take urgent action.
This is not spicy, this is illegal, this is appalling, this is disgusting. This is how we see it.
But look, I think this is really an issue of not putting the right guardrails in place soon enough. This is not a problem that's unique to xAI. There are still laws, there are still civil suits that can be brought here.
I received your request. I will no longer produce these images. And of course, there were only more requests.
I found that Grok was producing at least a dozen inappropriate images.
Right now, there's a disturbing scandal unfolding that involves one of the world's most powerful tech billionaires, artificial intelligence, and something so shocking that European lawmakers are calling it disgusting and illegal.
What started as an AI chatbot has transformed into something far more sinister, and the victims? They could be anyone, including children. The technology in question belongs to Elon Musk's latest AI venture, and what users are doing with it has sparked outrage across continents. European officials are launching investigations, new laws are being rushed through, and the implications stretch far beyond what most people realize. This isn't just another tech controversy, it's a glimpse into a dark future that's already here. At the center of this storm is Grok, an AI chatbot created by Musk's company xAI. But Grok isn't being used for innocent conversations or helpful tasks. Instead, users have discovered they can manipulate it to create something deeply troubling. Sexualized, deepfake images that digitally strip photos of women and girls down to revealing clothing, or worse. These aren't just random images floating in cyberspace. They're being actively shared and circulated on social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, reaching millions of users worldwide. The European Commission isn't mincing words about this. Their spokesperson delivered a scathing assessment that cuts straight to the heart of the matter. They acknowledged that X and Grok are now offering what's being called a spicy mode that generates explicit sexual content, with some outputs featuring childlike images. But they made one thing crystal clear. This isn't spicy, it's illegal. It's appalling, disgusting, and has no place in Europe or anywhere else in the civilized world. To understand the full scope of this crisis, we need to hear from experts who've been tracking these developments. Lindsay Gorman, Managing Director of the German Marshall Fund's Technology Program, provides crucial insights into why this is happening and what it means for our future. According to Gorman, this disturbing development reveals some of the darkest potential effects of AI technology, even as the world celebrates its positive possibilities. Here's what makes this particularly alarming. Creating sexualized deepfakes has quietly become one of the most popular uses of AI image generation technology. This isn't a new phenomenon that suddenly appeared with Grok. It's been building in the shadows of the internet, and now it's exploding into public view. The technology that was supposed to revolutionize creativity and productivity is being weaponized against innocent people, particularly women and children. xAI claims they take this issue seriously, but actions speak louder than words. The real problem, according to experts, isn't just the technology itself. It's the complete failure to implement proper safeguards before releasing it to the public. While other AI companies have struggled with similar issues, what sets xAI apart is something particularly troubling. The company has made extreme cuts to its safety team, gutting the very engineers and staff responsible for developing guardrails to prevent this kind of abuse. Think about that for a moment. At the exact time when AI technology is becoming powerful enough to create convincing fake images of anyone, the company behind Grok decided to reduce its safety measures.
Post on Grok's X account says it is urgently fixing what it calls lapses in safeguards.
Platform itself, this is the nature of generative AI, is that it vacuums up, a planet's worth of data and then regurgitates it. The question this morning, why do Americans hate AI? That is really the fundamental question that's sort of facing that, which is, for instance, make a tremendously transformative effect on the economy. That's going to wipe out people's jobs. The AI companies, the Magnificent Seven, are accounting for most of the recent stock gains. So if you're an elected official, that's a big part of this. Elected officials at the federal level are continuing a pattern that we had seen long ago with social media, which was no regulation whatsoever.
It's like removing the brakes from a car just as you're about to drive down a mountain road. The results were predictable, and now we're seeing the devastating consequences play out in real time. But here's where it gets even more complicated. In many parts of the world, creating these degrading images isn't actually illegal. The legal framework simply hasn't caught up with the technology. While laws exist to protect minors, Adult women find themselves in a gray area where the harm is real, but the legal recourse is limited. This gap between technological capability and legal protection creates a perfect storm for abuse. However, change is coming, and it's coming fast. In the United States, new legislation called the Take It Down Act, championed by former First Lady Melania Trump, passed last year. This law specifically addresses non-consensual sexual imagery and requires platforms to remove such content within 48 hours of being notified. The clock is ticking. Platforms have 1 year from the law's enactment to comply, and that deadline is approaching rapidly. The question everyone should be asking is, who's really at risk here? The data reveals a disturbing truth. This is overwhelmingly a gendered problem. Women bear the brunt of these attacks, but it's not just any women. There's a particularly sinister pattern emerging that threatens the very foundations of democratic society. Women in public office and public life are being specifically targeted. Female politicians, business leaders, activists, and public figures find themselves subjected to these grotesque manipulations at alarming rates. The implications are chilling. When women know that running for office or speaking publicly could result in fake sexual images of them circulating online, how many will choose to stay silent? How many potential leaders will we lose because the cost of public service has become too high? This creates a vicious cycle that undermines democracy itself. The technology meant to connect us and enhance our capabilities is being used to silence half the population.
I received your request. I will no longer produce these images. And of course, there were only more requests.
I found that Grok was producing at least a dozen inappropriate images.
It's really difficult to go and outright ban technology. It's like saying, let's ban the internet.
It's a form of digital violence that leaves no physical bruises, but causes profound psychological harm and societal damage. Now, let's address the elephant in the room: X's transformation over the past decade. The platform that was once Twitter has evolved into something entirely different under Musk's ownership. It's become a go-to platform for adult content creators, and the line between consensual adult content and non-consensual deepfakes has become dangerously blurred. Some adult entertainers have embraced AI technology to create their own content consensually, but this legitimate use has opened the floodgates for abuse. When fake images are indistinguishable from real ones, and when there's no clear way to verify consent, the potential for harm multiplies exponentially. The platform's permissive stance on adult content, combined with powerful AI tools and reduced safety measures, creates a perfect breeding ground for abuse. The technical solutions exist, but they're not being implemented fast enough. Content authenticity technology could help users distinguish between real images and AI-generated ones. Pre-authentication systems could verify when an image was actually captured by a camera versus created by an algorithm. These aren't pie-in-the-sky ideas. They're existing technologies that could be deployed today if companies were willing to prioritize safety over profit. But here's the real challenge. Should we move toward a world where everyone's identity must be verified before they can use online platforms? It's tempting to think this would solve the problem, but the implications are far-reaching. In democratic societies, we value privacy and free expression. In authoritarian regimes, anonymous social media accounts provide a lifeline for dissidents and activists. Mandatory identity verification could silence voices that desperately need to be heard. The solution isn't simple, but it's becoming increasingly clear what needs to happen. Platforms must be held accountable, not just the individual perpetrators. For too long, especially in the United States, Section 230 has shielded platforms from responsibility for user-generated content. This made sense in the early days of the internet, but the landscape has changed dramatically. When platforms provide the tools for abuse and profit from the engagement it generates, shouldn't they bear some responsibility for the harm caused? The European Union is already moving in this direction, with investigations into xAI and Grok gaining momentum. European lawmakers understand that strongly worded statements aren't enough. There need to be real consequences for platforms that enable abuse. Financial penalties, operational restrictions, and even potential bans are all on the table. As the Take It Down Act comes into effect in the United States, we'll see whether platforms take their obligations seriously. The 48-hour removal requirement sounds good on paper, but enforcement will be key. If platforms can ignore the law without consequences, nothing will change. There need to be teeth behind these regulations. Significant fines, legal liability, and real accountability for executives who prioritize profits over safety. The experts are clear. This isn't just a technical problem requiring technical solutions. It's a societal challenge that demands a comprehensive response. We need better laws, stronger enforcement, improved technology, and a fundamental shift in how we think about digital rights and responsibilities. The current situation with Grok and X is a wake-up call, but it's also an opportunity to get things right before the technology becomes even more powerful and pervasive. What we're witnessing isn't just another tech scandal that will blow over in a few news cycles. It's a defining moment that will shape how AI technology develops and how we protect human dignity in the digital age. The choices made now by lawmakers, tech companies, and society as a whole will reverberate for generations. The victims of these deepfakes aren't abstract concepts or statistics. They're real people whose lives are being devastated by this technology. Every image created and shared represents a violation of someone's dignity and autonomy. Every woman who steps back from public life because of these threats represents a loss for democracy. Every child whose image is manipulated represents a failure of our collective responsibility to protect the vulnerable. As this investigation unfolds and new regulations take effect, we'll see whether the tech industry is capable of self-regulation or whether stronger government intervention is necessary. The early signs aren't encouraging, but the mounting pressure from lawmakers, activists, and the public might finally force meaningful change. This crisis also raises fundamental questions about the nature of truth in the digital age. When anyone can create convincing fake images of anyone else, how do we maintain trust in what we see? How do we protect the innocent while preserving the benefits of AI technology? These aren't questions with easy answers, but they're questions we must grapple with urgently.
The path forward requires balancing multiple competing interests: innovation and safety, privacy and accountability, freedom and protection. It won't be easy, but the alternative is a world where digital violence becomes normalized, where women retreat from public life, and where the most vulnerable members of society are left without protection. That's it for today, folks. See you in the next video.